Alright, figured I'd show you this just very amusing duel to me where my opponent here was running Eldlich and I was running a Vendread, and it just went on for too long. And I just thought it'd be very amusing to show because it was the most anime-ass duel I think I've had in this game so far. I'll fast forward through the first couple turns here. Nothing exactly that exciting. He's playing Eldlich, big surprise. Banishes that. Graveyard effects. So both of us having graveyard effects allows me to at least do something versus Eldlich. Especially once he pops, skill drain. When skill drain's out there, if you don't have graveyard effects or other removal, you're kind of in trouble. Get a trade for a summon, defensive wall. The cool thing about Vendreads, if you don't play them, not exactly a very well-known archetype in my opinion. I haven't seen anyone else play them. I really like them. It's basically the monsters you use for the ritual summon give your ritual summon monsters extra effects. In this case, I just gave Battle Lord both a monster and a spell banish, which is really nice. Right, it's just, kind of limited by whatever things typically limit rituals in terms of being able to draw them and get them out and stuff like that. But if you can get one going, it actually makes a pretty strong card. Of course, the problem with this deck is their protection is pretty bad. Like, I don't think really any protection besides the occasional, can't destroy other Vendread monsters while this card's on the field type thing that, the Executor has. Or can't target, I believe. But besides that, these guys are very killable via spells. But if you have a set-heavy deck, such as this Eldlich, they can make a pretty strong counter, because they can just get rid of Eldlich and also the associated traps. As long as Skill Drain doesn't come out. Skill Drain is where it all falls apart. And there's his Tribute removal. Oh god, yeah, Reasoning, where I just have to choose a level, and I chose level 10 because I didn't want to draw, well, because of Eldlich. I knew Eldlich was in this deck. I didn't know what else was in this deck. Of course, unfortunately, I didn't actually call it. And also, he just gets to send everything into his graveyard, which is really good for the graveyard effects of a bunch of the Eldlich cards. They have a bunch of, return to field type things, so it's actually not bad to just feed into the graveyard. In reality, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The Graveyard is just your second, more accessible deck. It's pretty much a second hand. At least for a good number of archetypes. Especially zombie ones. Like, zombies, originally the main gimmick of zombies kind of was graveyard effects, pretty much. Where many other cards originally did not have graveyard effects. Graveyard actually meant something, and Banishment was pretty much a super extra thing that only really was there to prevent, Monster Reborn and stuff like that, and a couple other effects. But now Banish is basically how the Graveyard used to be, where Banish sometimes gets rid of most things. Kills Raigeki, this guy Mega Minds and puts another card onto the field to get Raigeki'd, because I don't know if he understands Chain Order. But it is what it is. I think he did to remove my Battle Lord from the graveyard, now I think about it. But that's fine. Because I have one in my hand. Yeah, so you see we're on turn 8, which is much longer than most Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels go. That's how you can tell neither of us are exactly running, or my deck isn't that good. Right, it's a Vendread deck in the first place, which is not exactly anything beyond a C-tier archetype. And I'm fighting an Eldlich player who is not that good. His draws haven't been bad. He's been able to have a full, pretty much board the entire game. Or at least full board for an Eldlich, which is pretty much back row plus Eldlich on the field. So, the fact that I've managed to hold on this long is pretty lucky. But yeah, look at that. He's going to just have a full set row. Pre-preparation of rights is essential for making this deck work. Because it allows me to fish stuff out of my deck, which this deck doesn't have pretty much any other way of doing beyond a couple graveyard effects. So, if your pre-preparation rights gets negated, you're usually in trouble. The nice thing about the Vendread ritual spells is they take materials. They can summon creatures that are in your graveyard, so you can use your ritual monsters in your hand that are of the identical name to summon the things that are in your graveyard, and usually it's beneficial to kind of just trade that way and just cycle your things, because, right, you tribute, or you use for the ritual a thing in your hand, so it goes to the graveyard, and you take your thing out of the graveyard into the field, so you kind of actually have an endless cycle if you actually don't get negated and play things correctly. Especially if you get the Vendread Savior on the field, because then he can really just start to infinite loop materials. I don't think I actually managed to get him on the field once this duel. Oh yeah, the one non-Vendread card I play is just... I threw that in there at some point, just... I guess it was the exact case of just being able to have a... Because I have a bunch of cards that fit that synchro level, so it's kind of like, why not, right? A 3000 beat stick that has a special summon destruction, which, you know, special summoning is everything in this game. So here I almost had game, and then I get absolutely cut again by Eldlich. Things are looking a little spicy now. Notice he's almost out of cards, which is, I think, my win condition, because, you know, he's done a lot of, like, milling. Right now I could beat over Eldlich and go for game again, but he has so many traps. So here I try to negate traps, but Chain Order screws me. He puts Skill Drain, so that pretty much was a banish for no reason. But luckily Skill Drain doesn't negate the 3000 attack, so I can still kill Eldlich this turn. He again removes more material into the banish, which is a good thing, right? For graveyard decks, you want to deny them the material, and kind of to balance most graveyard heavy decks, they kind of are weak to banishment, right? They tend not to have any actual banishment retrieval. Or have very specific banish retrieval cards that you can focus on negating. Eldlich is such a strong card. If you don't notice, I've banished, I think, both of his other Eldliches. So he's been entirely just stalling this duel using a single Eldlich. And just keeps coming back. I think right here we kind of get into a staring match. Yeah, I just end my turn. It's not worth playing anything to activate a trap. He ends his turn because he has a fully locked out board. So this Lightning Storm, you would think would be the key here, where I would basically try to get my Vendread Battlelord off the field to use it, but unfortunately I have a field spell that I can't really remove, so I just cannot use my Lightning Storm. The old Solemn Judgment. Yeah, I guess 400 life points at that point. This is whatever. Now he has a spot to play a card. Forbidden Droplet. And then he gets Eldlich back on the field, I'm pretty sure. Yep. The Shiny Golden Man. Gonna murder my poor Battlelord. So now we're both sub 1k life points. It doesn't look good for me. Tell. Notice he has 2 turns to potentially make anything work. And he's playing stupid shit like Goated Match, which is kind of pointless when I'm running a pure zombie deck. I guess I had Scarlight there, so I couldn't summon him now, but whatever. 99% of the cards in this deck are zombie archetypes. Or both zombie and dark, so like, any of these type of floodgates don't actually matter. Ah. People mock me for playing traps. For playing normal traps, but this one is very useful, honestly, right? You basically... Its first effect isn't that great, but the fact that when it's in your graveyard, it allows you to return 5 banished cards into your deck, and also draw, is actually really nice. Right, because now I have more ritual fodder. And it also prevents me from decking out like this poor man. Yeah, this, I think this duel is like one of my favorite / funniest because it reminds me of like really old classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's just kind of like a slugfest, but in this case it's been a slugfest of just kind of throwing every effect that we have at each other. They just keep, because they're both very similar archetypes, that they kind of just keep trading. Yeah, look, he's back again. Unfortunately, it does nothing for him because he's out of turns. But yeah, just figured I'd share that because it was just really, really funny to me.